everything's going okay. The audio was a little weird a little while ago, but hopefully everything's fine. Got a bunch of rumors for you. So there's a bunch of rumors circulating around the internets. Some of them relating to Star Wars, some of them relating to Robert Downey Jr.'s return to the MCU. There's some Kill Bill stuff. A whole bunch of really interesting things broke down over the weekend. So let's get into it. Let's break it down. Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
All right, so first of all, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Yes, I'm not wearing a hat. I'm not Gus Becerra, thanks for joining me, man. Yeah, I'm not wearing a hat today. I just took a shower, just got out of the shower. My hair's still a little wet, and it's just too hot, man. It's too hot out there. It's crazy. Stupid San Diego weather. But yeah, it's basically I just, I dried my hair off, and there you go. That's the only reason. I didn't do anything with it. I just put it to the back, and that's it. So sorry if you hate this. I hate it too. Actually, you know what? Fine, I'll put the hat on. Whatever. I'll be a responsible adult or whatever, and worry about the image of the show and whatnot. Fine. It's just too hot, man. It's crazy hot out there. It's weird. Actually, I was about to shave. I've been letting my facial hair grow a little bit because my girlfriend was like, "Hey, I'm sick of seeing your face. Change it a little bit." So like, all right, fine. I'll grow out the facial hair. But no, I hate it. It's just too damn hot. It's too damn hot out there. But anyway, everybody, thanks for joining me. It's a laid back Monday. We're relaxing. We're chilling. So I hope you guys, sit back, relax, enjoy a nice cold one with me. I love that sound. I know I could have pre-opened the beer and had it ready, but I just love the sound that the can makes. I'm excited for this because, again, it's too freaking hot out there. It's crazy. I actually had a pretty good weekend. Now I'm thinking about it. I mean, I was out in the sun. I went to the zoo. It was great. Oh, shit. Whoops. Fucked up. Poured a bit too much there. Whoops. Yeah, I went to the zoo. It was great. It was probably one of the best times I've been to the zoo because we got really lucky. The animals were super active, and I saw a bunch of stuff that I'd never seen before. Like you can check out my Instagram story right now. It doesn't look as great because I was shooting against the sun, but I got to see two grizzly bears fighting. It's play fighting, but still, bear fight. When do you ever see that in the zoo? Usually they're just, especially in the summer, they're usually just in the water or in the shade, but no, they were actually fighting out there. I got to see a koala bear in the ground and climb up a tree. Koala bears are usually always sleeping. I got to see a lion just laying on completely on his back. So it was pretty cool, honestly. It was a pretty good time. It was pretty enjoyable in spite of the heat. It wasn't crazy hot, but still, you're out there in the sun. So, Chuck, thanks for joining me too. I live in El Centro 120 over here. Boo, dude, that's brutal. That's brutal. I need to find some kind of AC for this studio because it's small, it's all closed up, but I'm worried about the audio. I mean, you guys can probably hear the fan right now. I don't know. Doesn't matter. If it's hot enough, it doesn't really matter. You just need something to help you take the edge off. You know what I'm saying? But hope your weekend was good. I had a softball game this Saturday. We whooped the other team 19-3. Overall, good stuff. Good stuff. Gotta tell you. Again, can't complain. Underrated gems went by particularly well last Thursday. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As I mentioned before, it's my new movie club. Every Thursday at 5 p.m. Actually, I'm liking the 5 p.m. thing. I might switch this show to 5 p.m. I don't know. I'm thinking about it because 5 p.m. was just perfect. I still have the rest of the night. I could still do a bunch of stuff. I don't know. Well, I'll think about it. But it's basically our movie club, and we just talked about a movie. So I went through the whole movie. I mentioned stuff that I liked, stuff that I didn't. I had a bunch of issues with production stuff, but overall I felt like the content was pretty good. It was a pretty good time. So this week, this Thursday at 5 p.m., we will be talking about the Antonio Banderas movie, The 13th Warrior, one that I personally consider to be one of the most underrated movies of all time. And next week, meaning, so again, Thursday, July 13th, 5 p.m. at Pacific, we're talking about the 13th Warrior. Thursday, the 20th, 5 p.m. Pacific, we're going to be talking about Starship Troopers. I probably should have had an image here for Starship Troopers. Now that I think about it, it's very unprofessional. I was too worried about the heat and even stop to think or consider what the hell I was doing. Crazy unprofessional. The worst. But yeah, Starship Troopers, it's a sci-fi movie from, I believe, the 90s. And again, personally, consider it to be one of the most underrated movies out there. It's aged phenomenally. So as we go by and we watch this movie, I hope you guys notice that for a movie, let me just see real quick when it came out. Right, just so that I'm not completely talking out of my butt. Troopers, IMDb. 1997. Yeah, so it came out in the 90s. For a movie that came out in the 90s, the special effects aged pretty well. The story aged pretty well. It's very different from the book. I may mention a few different things here and there, but mostly we're just going to focus on the movie. So again, this Thursday, the 13th Warrior. Next Thursday, Starship Troopers. So you guys got time, all right? You got a few days to watch 13th Warrior still and just hang out, talk shit. Like you can ask me questions, you can just bring up interesting stuff, or you can just listen to me ramble for a few hours about a movie that I like. Either way, I think it's pretty entertaining, and I think it went pretty well. Now, I had some issues with YouTube because I got a copyright thing it's like, you're using copyrighted material. I fought it. I think the video is back up, so I highly recommend that you watch this live. Because live, for sure, you won't have any of the other... Otherwise, you're going to have to wait maybe a few days. Let me see. That one's good, too. How about The Watchmen? Sure, I love The Watchmen. Later on, in the future, all right? Right now, I already have like a few ones set. I already have a few ones that I kind of want to do. And yes, Blazing Saddles is in there. We will be doing Blazing Saddles at one point. But not yet. Not yet. But we will do it. Why? Because fuck it, it's fun. And I want to. And it's funny. It's a great movie. So there you go. Okay, for those of you who are wondering, yes, we will be doing that. So there you go. Now let's get into a bunch of rumors. Because as I mentioned, there's a bunch of rumors that came out over the weekend. And you know, little one or two other interesting pieces of news. So first off, not particularly a rumor, but something that I want to talk about because, again, it's my show and I can do whatever the fuck I want. Have you guys seen the new trailer for Napoleon? Napoleon, the new Ridley Scott movie where Joaquin Phoenix plays the historical character Napoleon. It looks epic. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you watch it. Pause this, or if you're watching live, we'll wait once it's done, check out the trailer. It looks awesome. Ridley Scott is one of the best directors of all time. And for those of you who don't know who Ridley Scott is, he directed a little movie called Alien and most of the Alien franchise. He directed a little movie called Gladiator. Most recently, he probably, what would you have seen? Because nobody saw the last one with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, unfortunately, and the last duel. But I guess the Covenant, the Alien Covenant would be the most thing. I don't know why he does so many Alien stuff, but he does. But anyway, one of the biggest and best directors of all time, in my humble opinion, working with probably the best working actor of his generation to play one of the most important human beings in history, Napoleon, one of the most famous ones. So, should be fun. I'm very much looking forward for that movie. Like, it looks really good. It looks really good. And even if it looked terrible, I was still going to watch it because I'm a Ridley Scott fan and I'm a Joaquin Phoenix fan. So, there you go. How about watching it? But Blazing Saddles isn't really underrated. Wolverine. Listen, I agree. Blazing Saddles is not underrated, but this is a movie club. We're just going to talk about movies. It doesn't... it's called Underrated Gems because I like the name Underrated Gems. I already had it in, my back pocket. But it doesn't have to be underrated flicks. It doesn't have to be. And also, a lot of people, in the modern era haven't seen it. Why? Because it's kind of been canceled or it's considered risque or something. So, we're showing it to new people. And maybe try to break down really inappropriate comedy in a way that could be, understandable for people with sensitive sensibilities. Is that redundant? I don't know. Whatever. So, let's continue. Check that out. I highly recommend it. The trailer looks awesome. Napoleon comes out. I have it right here. See, I was prepared for this one. Comes out November 22nd. Now, it's going to come out in like Apple TV. I'm hoping that it comes out in theaters too, but we'll see. So, let's get into the big rumor, the big rumor of the weekend. So there's been a lot of speculation as to whether or not Robert Downey Jr. will be returning to the MCU. For those of you who don't know who Robert Downey Jr. is, or what his role in the MCU is, or what the MCU is, all right, really quickly. The MCU is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Robert Downey Jr. is an actor, and he's played Iron Man for the last decade, except he retired the character after Endgame when, the character died. So it was meant to be like the final farewell for that character and all that stuff. So there's been a lot of rumors circulating lately that Robert Downey Jr. might return for the MCU, that he might return to the new Captain America movie, Brave New World. Not a lot is known about that particular movie, and Robert Downey Jr. has been spotted on the set of Captain America Brave New World. So, as you can imagine, rumors galore. Everybody's like, oh, will he be coming back? This is so cool. It's exactly what the MCU needs, to come back or whatever. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it's very likely it's not going to happen. Now, from what I understood, the movie has already finished production, so if he was on set, he was there at the very end of it. Also, I think it's more likely that he was there just visiting friends because, again, he was the centerpiece of the MCU for a really long time. So I'm assuming that he knows the writers, all the production people, the producers, the actors. Like, how many movies was he with Anthony Mackie alone? So let's just be, Anthony Mackie is the new Captain America, right? So they were together in Captain America Civil War, then Infinity War. Is Anthony Mackie in Infinity War? I think so. Then again in Endgame. So they've worked together quite a bit. So him visiting a friend on the set doesn't really seem that weird. And most importantly, I do not think that Robert Downey Jr. wants to return right now to the MCU because the MCU is terrible. They would have to offer him so much money. Listen, I'm not saying he'd never do it because, with enough money, anybody would do anything. Or it's very likely that anybody would do anything. I mean, with enough zeros, probably. But if I'm Robert Downey Jr., I had this character. We already gave him a send-off. You're done. You made a buttload of money. How much money do they need to offer you in order to come back and try to fix everything they fucked up? Because you left everything in kind of an okay spot. You planted the seeds for a successful future. And they fucked everything up, and now they're coming back to you, and they're like, "Hey, we need you to come back and fix this. We need to use your good name and the goodwill you've already set up with fans in order to fix our fuck up." You think Robert Downey Jr. is gonna be like, "You're gonna need way more zeros than that, buddy"? Because I've seen interviews of Robert Downey Jr. where he talks about all that stuff, and there was one in particular that stands out where he says that he was worried about losing his acting skills because of the MCU. Right? He was concerned that he was losing some of those, because acting's a skill. It's like a muscle. You need to use it in order to have it. And so he was worried that he would lose the edge on the other muscle. So clearly he didn't think it was something challenging or worthwhile as an actor, as an artiste. So again, if he does it, it would be for the money. And it's going to be so much money at a point where Disney's bleeding money. So I don't see it happening. Like, if I'm a betting man, I'm not going to bet on Robert Downey Jr. returning anytime soon. I'd recast the character with somebody else and move on. Because he's not as young as he used to be anymore. So it seems not likely to happen. So rumor one, out the window. Don't think it will be happening, at least not anytime soon. Next, rumor number two, Kathleen Kennedy. There's been rumors that due to the flop of Indiana Jones and, again, Disney being in a terrible spot for a really long time and Star Wars fans hating her and all this stuff, there's rumors that she's finally been fired from her position in Lucasfilm. This is not correct. Now, for those of you who don't know, Kathleen Kennedy is the president of Lucasfilms. For those of you who don't know, Lucasfilms is, is owned by Disney, and they own all the rights to Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and all this stuff. Anything that has to do with George Lucas and all that stuff. So that's who she is. She sucks. She's terrible. She's the Wicked Witch of the West. And for most of the people who are Star Wars fans and stuff, she's been basically ruining a bunch of beloved franchises, just dragging them to the mud, spitting on fans' faces. She's the Wicked Witch of the West. Like, everybody hates her. Everybody, at least, who knows their stuff. Let me just see this real quick. Gus Becerra, X-Men will be the MCU savior, and when that happens, there's got to be a huge demand to have them interact with Phase 1 characters. Who would be a good Iron Man? I'll circle back to that because I also have some X-Men stuff for you. So I'll circle back to that particular thing. Anyway, back to Kathleen Kennedy. Again, I need this to be perfectly clear. I do not want this woman in charge of Star Wars anymore. I don't want her anywhere near any intellectual property that I like. I think, other than Rogue One, every single thing she's done has been terrible for the franchise. Every single thing. Every single thing that she's done with Star Wars has sucked. Has been terrible. Other than Rogue One. That's it. I can't think of anything else that I'm like, you know what? This isn't a total piece of shit. The only thing... Alright, fine. One more. And that's returning, the return of Star Wars Clone Wars, so they close out the season. But she didn't start that. She did bring it back, but she didn't start it. So, I'm not giving her credit for it. The Mandalorian is still a question mark at this point, because she could still ruin it. And we'll see. But let's continue. So, I do not... With that being said, the rumors that she has been ousted at Lucasfilm are not verified. It's just a rumor, and it's a very bizarre rumor at that, because what Disney's saying is that, oh, well, she had a programmed vacation. And she could have had a programmed vacation. That could be... Why isn't she there? Well, she could just be on vacation. Also, that she's not... There's some issue with her emails and stuff. I know there's a lot of really weird stuff with the emails. But she could just be on vacation. It's a thing. It could be like, oh, I'm going on vacation, clean up my server or whatever, do something over there. I'm going to be out. Because Indiana Jones is coming out. I just had, a big media push for it. I just did a whole bunch of big work coming up to that. I'm taking a vacation afterwards. It's the summer. It makes perfect sense for her to just be on vacation instead of, got fired for her terrible job. For the terrible job that she's done. I wish she got fired. I really do. I think that they need to release the stupid stranglehold that they have on these franchises. Unfortunately, I don't see it happening yet. And based on the current state of her contract, I think Disney would lose a bunch of money if they let her go. Now, it would be a good thing. Honestly, this is a sunk cost fallacy thing. Lose the money. Lose it. It's better for you to lose the money and gain maybe the faith of fans. They're like, all right, she's gone. Maybe you're going to bring somebody in and we'll give that thing a shot. Just because it was somebody different. But maybe it's one of those things. Well, Kathleen already signed up all these writers and for all these projects. So would we lose them too? We don't want to lose all that stuff. It could be part of the contract. It could be part of the negotiation. I don't know. Again, unfortunately, I don't think this is happening yet. Will she be re-signed? God, I hope not. God, I hope not. It's criminal what she's done to these franchises, to these beloved characters. But unfortunately, it looks like, at least around now, again, I hope I'm wrong, but that rumor again appears to be incorrect. I believe that she will continue in her job, unfortunately, in spite of how much all the fans hate her and her work and everything she's ever done for that particular, for Lucasfilm. So, there you go. Bad news. I'm sorry. Next, let's talk a little Indiana Jones. I haven't seen it. Speaking of the Kathleen Kennedy and all that stuff, I haven't seen the new Indiana Jones. I don't really care to see it, because to me, Indiana Jones ended after The Last Crusade. The Last Crusade was a particularly good send-off for the character and for the franchise. I didn't need anything more. And I was happy with it. I gave the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull a chance, but it was so fucking stupid that I was like, I'm done. I don't need this anymore. This character, his best years are behind him. Clearly they don't understand. Well, I'm not going to say clearly they don't understand, but it's just, let's say, this isn't aging well. This should be done. We're done. We don't need more. In fact, I'm going to pretend 4 didn't exist. So I'm definitely going to pretend 5 doesn't exist. Maybe I'll watch it once it's free streaming. but not today. I'm not going to give you money. I'm not going to go to movie theaters, especially if I know that not going means that it's more likely that Kathleen Kennedy will be fired. So, there you go. However, I did find an article that I found super interesting about kind of the state of things at Disney and why I hate actors. So, this is, I'll read the headline here. So, Indiana Jones 5-star actress asked for script changes over a problematic scene. So, Indiana Jones 5 actress asked for script changes over a problematic scene. So, here's the story real quick. Shawnette Renee Wilson stars alongside Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. According to the actress, she had requested for changes once she got the script. So, first off, problematic scene. This article doesn't explain what the problematic scene is. It doesn't tell you what it was. So, I hate that already. But the fact that an actor has the balls to go in and tell a writer or a director, like, hey, I need you to change this because it's problematic, annoys the hell out of me. This is a movie that's supposed to be set in, like, what, 70s, 80s, 60s, something? Of course things are going to be problematic for you. It should be. It was different times. And so, you go in there and trying to change a story is, let's just say, not a fan of it. And I do not like the fact that, according to this article, director James Mangold was like, hey, you know what? Yeah, we should do that. It bugs me. It just bugs me. So, just to add a little extra reason why I'm not going to watch the movie, because if it would have had something that's problematic or something, it would have been interesting to see on screen. Like, oh, that's what it was. Oh, okay, I get it. But if you cut it from the movie, then what's the special thing that I'm supposed to see? What's going to make this movie different? It's just going to be another movie that doesn't take any risks, doesn't challenge itself, doesn't challenge the audience in any way. Screw you. But anyway, that was just a little thing. I noticed that it's related to Indiana Jones, so I figured I'd mention it. Next! Oh, wait, what's up here, chat? Jenna Ortega started a bad trend. What's the Jenna Ortega thing? The name sounds familiar, but I'm terrible with names, so let me just see real quick. Jenna Ortega. Okay, Jenna Ortega. Oh, she's the girl from Wednesday. What's her trend? I don't know. I haven't seen Wednesday yet. What trend did she start? Anyway, next, we finally got the first image of Hugh Jackman in the Wolverine suit, maybe, in Deadpool 3. So, as you can see here from the image on the screen, it looks closer to it looks like an assault version of the classic bright yellow Wolverine costume. It also kind of looks fake. I gotta tell you, it looks really bizarre. I'm not sure. Like, a part of me is like, could this be a Halloween costume or is this the real thing? I don't know. But apparently this is how he's supposed to look, which I don't hate. I like the yellow costume for Wolverine. It depends on how things are going to go for the story. We'll see how Deadpool goes. So I've read a bunch of stuff that the actor's saying, like, no, this will be like the Fox versions. They're not going to Disney it up. They're not going to make it PG-13. It's still going to be the same old. We'll see. Hopefully it is. It's kind of the last thing I might have a little shred of hope for in the whole MCU stuff, but we'll see. Because of Sarah, apparently she changed the Wednesday character a lot during shoots without telling the director. Yeah, that's not good. That's really bad. That's extremely bad. And this leads to a lot of issues that I've complained about a lot. I know there's certain things that actors add to a character that can be brilliant. And whenever I write something, this is just a personal thing. Whenever I've written something, I tend to not give the characters too much personality because I want actors to have a little bit of freedom to insert their own creativity, to give the characters their own voice. That's me. That's how I do it. And again, because I write specifically thinking about the actor's process and all that stuff. So I like giving them that particular freedom. So usually, basically, this is the message that I want to get across. All right, so I want the message for you to get across that the character is basically through simple language that they're upset about something or they're happy about something, and I write it the way that I would say it, right? But I give the actor the option of, you can, as long as you say this, as long as you do this specific thing, as long as this is the message that comes across, feel free to be creative, all right? I don't mind them doing that. I don't mind actors doing that, inserting personality, changing things, adding their own quirks, bringing them to life. I do not mind at all. A perfect example. One time, we were working on a pilot for a comedy thing, and we'd written a character as Australian, right? The actor who ended up getting the part, he did the role as French, like with a French accent, and it worked better. It worked perfectly. So it's all right. It was one of those things that it doesn't really matter. The point is that he needed to have a funny accent, right? And we always imagined like Australian, you know, because it's naughty. But he came in and he did it like a French, and it was funny. Well, because he probably did that better. And it worked. And he did it kind of like in a French pervy way instead of like a laid-back Australian way. And it worked out. Again, some actors, they do have a particular brilliance when it comes to characters, and nobody kind of understands the character better. My issue is when it comes to story and actors trying to change things that are related to the story, because that really fucks up everything. And you can see it from a lot of TV shows where, let's just say, an actor, listen, actors are attention whores, right? They're people who want attention, right? They want to be loved. They're puppies who just want attention. And so if they're playing a character and the character says something mean, they're like, "Oh, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to say it like that. I want people to like me. I want people to like my performance." And so they go to the director like, "Hey, can I say it like this? Or wouldn't it be funny if I say it like this, blah blah?" And they become like, let's say, likable. The point is, it doesn't fit for the character in that particular moment. So, yes, your character might be likable because you said it in a likable way and you're a likable person, but the character wasn't supposed to be likable. The character was supposed to be hateable. So you're ruining the story. You're ruining something very important. That's why sometimes characters, the motivations and everything don't make sense. And when I'm doing reviews and stuff like this doesn't add up. The character from here and the character from here, they don't add up. And maybe the writer did an okay job. It's just that while they were shooting, the actor was like, "Hey, what if I say like this?" And people laugh. And the director was like, "Let's do it." And the writer's, in the back room just ripping his hair out like, "You fucking morons! You ruined everything. You don't know what's going to happen in episode 8. You don't know what I need you to do in episode 8. Why are you changing fucking things in episode 2? It's infuriating." So, that Jenna Ortega thing, doing that, no bueno, no good. I do not approve of it. Again, I haven't seen the show. Maybe what she did was really good. Maybe it saved the show. Maybe it made the show. I don't know. I just don't really particularly care for it. Whatever. I don't feel like watching it. Not in the mood. Point is, we'll see how Deadpool goes. However, I am concerned about Deadpool because of the next story. Jennifer Garner will be reprising her role as Elektra in Deadpool 3. Now, for those of you who do not remember this, actress Jennifer Garner, appeared in the Daredevil movie as Elektra Nachos, a character from Marvel Comics, and then she had her own spin-off movie, and both are among the worst superhero pieces of crap I've ever seen in my entire life. They're disgustingly bad. And back at the time, how old was she? Like, was she in her 20s, 30s? Let me see. Jennifer Garner, MDV. Jennifer Garner is currently 72. So she's 41. April 17th. So she might be 42. No, she's 41. And when did Elektra come out? Let's see. All the way back to Alias, Daredevil. Daredevil came out in 2003. Elektra came out in 2005. 2005. So 18 years ago. So again, yeah, I got it. She was in her 20s. So in her 20s, she played that character and she's reprising it again now in her 40s. Why? I don't know. Was there like a big, desire for the Jennifer Garner Elektra to come back into the MCU. Like, this just kind of reeks of desperation in many ways. Again, I want to give Ryan Reynolds the benefit of the doubt because of what they did with the first 2 movies, which was really funny, which was really great. This one, I mean, they're tied to Disney now. They're not as free as they were the last time. So them bringing Jennifer Garner in here, who is not known for her rated R comedy, is concerning. It's very concerning. Adding Wolverine, phenomenal. Hugh Jackman, everybody loved him. Adding Jennifer Garner, Elektra, who everybody hated, seems like a bizarre decision, and it's one of those things that makes me feel concerned about this movie. So it could be better, could be not. Let's just say I don't particularly see how adding a 40-year-old Elektra to the movie is going to make it better. But I do agree with Gus Visera. She is still hot. So, we'll see how that goes. Next. We're sticking to the MCU a little bit here. Actress Elizabeth Olsen, who's played the Scarlet Witch in, the MCU, has spoken up about the X-Men. And what she's had to say has me kind of concerned about the future of the X-Men. Speaking about what, who mentioned it? Gus, or was it Chuck? Gus Visera. So, in an interview that she did, she was in a panel discussing a bunch of stuff, and so they asked her, well, here you go. Speaking at the TJH Superhero Car Show and Comic-Con this week, Olsen was asked where she'd like to see Scarlet Witch go in the future. Olsen was quick to answer, saying that she'd just love to figure out the whole mutant thing, before noting that she knows that there's nothing anyone can do about it at the moment. So again, here's the whole quote. This is, again, Elizabeth Olsen speaking. Oh gosh, I just want to figure out the whole mutant thing. Like, that's really... and none of us can do anything about it. Like, we can't do anything about it. We're not X-Men, but gosh, I just would love to explore that so much. I think X-Men was definitely my first experience superhero-type films. So, this could mean several things. First, it could mean that, yes, there's something X-Men related in the works besides Deadpool, and that Scarlet Witch will not be a part of it. That's perfectly valid or possible. There's also the way that she mentioned that sounds kind of like there's nothing X-Men related in the works, which makes no sense whatsoever, because the X-Men are pretty popular, and it would help out a lot with several issues that they have in the MCU. And most importantly, I already gave everybody the answer how to insert the X-Men using Scarlet Witch, and nobody listens to me, so I'm still pissed off about that, and I'll share it with you pretty quickly. This is how it should have gone, in my humble opinion. Like, if I would have been given control about this, Disney just got the rights to the X-Men. WandaVision's about to come out. This is how I would have done it, and I get it. It's difficult for normies. This is kind of like a little bit more advanced stuff, but fuck you. The fans who know what's up would have loved it, and eventually fans would have accepted it, because I don't think that all the multiverse stuff is not confusing. So if they would have found something that's less confusing using the quantum realm or the multiverse or whatever, different timelines, all right. But that shit's even more confusing than what I had in mind. So F you, honestly. And it's not even that hard. It took me 2 minutes to figure this one out. I can't believe that the people at Disney can't figure it out. It's almost like they haven't ever read a fucking comic book in their entire lives. But anyway, let me just do this real quick. So, for those of you who've never heard how I would have reintroduced the X-Men into the MCU, or introduced the X-Men into the MCU, this is what I would have done. For WandaVision, I would have made it so that the MCU itself, as it currently stands, is actually the world of House of M. For those of you who don't know what House of M is, very quickly, there is a timeline or a universe or a particular... there's a period of time where Scarlet Witch basically goes crazy. I believe it's because Vision dies, and so she goes crazy. And she uses all her Omega mutant powers to change reality itself. And what she changes is, she says, or the command that she gives is, no more mutants. So it's a world where mutants no longer exist. Now, How do you adapt that to the MCU? Well, at one point in the past, Scarlet Witch goes crazy, says no more mutants, and then the MCU happens, and then in WandaVision, well, but how did Wanda get her powers in the MCU? Very simple. In the MCU, Wanda isn't a mutant. She actually got her powers via Hydra and experiments and all that stuff. You guys remember how she got it? So Hydra experimented on her, and she kind of ended up getting her Scarlet Witch powers back because those were the powers that she was always meant to have because that's what her body was made for. Anyway, that's why her and Pietro got the powers back, and without being mutants. Anyway, through WandaVision, as Wanda goes crazy again because, the cycle repeats itself, she went crazy over the death of, I believe, Vision, and so she breaks reality, and now in the broken reality, she goes crazy again after Vision dies, so she breaks it back. So she'd be destroying the world of House of M, and that would lead to the return of the mutants. She would be like, all right, fine, mutants can come back. And WandaVision could have been her discovering that, oh, wow, we're actually living in a world that I broke. Stuff like that, and in her own insanity. That's how I would have done it. And it's the perfect way to be like, hey, mutants didn't come out of nowhere. They just kind of been, they were erased from our collective memories because an Omega level fucking mutant made us forget. That's how I would have done it. Seems pretty simple. Seems pretty straightforward. It's better than whatever the fuck they're doing right now with all the quantum realm and multiple realities and multiple timelines and stuff like that. Way less complicated, in my humble opinion. Just because Sarah just jumped to a different multiverse, they're just going to keep using that cheat code. It's stupid. And I hate it. And it's stupid. But whatever. Point is, they don't pay me for this stuff. And they don't listen to me anyway. But whatever, Go keep losing money. Keep losing money. Whatever. Let's continue. Oh, the point of this particular one is that, yeah, there doesn't appear to be anything in the works with the X-Men and Scarlet Witch for the foreseeable future. That's my take on that. Following on other MCU news, Shang-Chi star Simu Liu, that'll be the main character, has a disappointing update about the sequel. Now, in 2021, a movie came out, Shang-Chi and, The Legend of the Ten Rings, and the movie was relatively successful for, the space of the MCU, and so everybody expected a sequel. Personally, I thought the movie was okay. The best parts of the movie were the ones with Michelle Yeoh, the part of the movie that's actually kung fu. That was pretty cool. But a lot of it was really stupid and lame, and I hated Awkwafina. I don't know why the fuck she's a thing, but she is. She shouldn't be, but whatever. And the actor mentioned this. So in an AMA thread, in an AMA on Threads, AMA would be an Ask Me Anything, Leo said that he was told Shang-Chi 2 would release after another Avengers movie. And this is a quote, but that keeps getting pushed back due to circumstances beyond my control. Hope to have more concrete news to share soon. So again, this is another MCU movie that's just getting pushed back. Doesn't necessarily mean canceled, but it's not a good sign. It's not a good thing. It's never good to be pushed back. So again, the MCU is just in free fall, and it's all hot. It's at the point where they want to bring Robert Downey Jr. back just to maybe save it from the toilet, and I don't see it happening. Maybe Deadpool will do something, but I doubt it because Deadpool will be fun for the rated R people. It won't fit with the rest of the MCU. You can't save it. I think it's done. I think it's over. Its best years are behind it, and it's fading, and it's fading really fast. Really fucking fast. Chuck Dominguez, fucking writers, and they still complain about their pay. Yes, these a-holes still have the right to, I'm actually okay. I'm okay with the strike. Don't get any money. You don't deserve anything. Fire everybody. Just clean house. They suck. It's the worst generation of fucking writers I've ever seen. Again, granted, it's probably the only one I've ever seen because it's still like the same. Whatever. The point is they suck. They're terrible people. They're suck at their jobs. They don't deserve nothing. Nothing. Nothing but pain and misery. At least professionally. Next. Let's continue. This is actually pretty fun. I saw the trailer, well, a teaser, for the new Zack Snyder movie called Rebel Moon. Now, full disclosure, I'm a Zack Snyder fan. For those of you who don't know, Zack Snyder made 300. He made Sucker Punch. He made the Justice League movies. He made Batman v Superman. He made The Watchmen. I'm a Zack Snyder fan. I like his style. I like the fact that his movies usually have a lot of really kick-ass action. Probably the movie that I dislike the most would be his latest zombie movie. I don't even remember what it's called, but that's probably his weakest movie off the top of my head. Everything else is pretty good. And so I saw the teaser and I read an article that I found pretty interesting. Apparently, this movie, Rebel Moon, by the way, for those of you who don't know what the movie's about, it comes out, it's going to be on Netflix. I believe it comes out towards next year. Let me see if it's December 22nd on Netflix. And it's basically Seven Samurai in space. Right, that's for those of you who don't know what Seven Samurai is. It was a Magnificent Seven in space, basically. So Seven Samurai is a movie made by Kurosawa a really long time ago. I don't even remember. It's a black and white samurai movie where basically a village is about to be attacked by a group of thieves, like a really large band of thieves, and so they hired seven samurai to protect them. And it's just, you know, like the stance of these seven warriors against the hordes of thieves. It's a great movie. It's a classic. Then afterwards they made The Magnificent Seven, which is kind of the same thing but with cowboys. And now Zack Snyder's doing that with in a space in a sci-fi situation, which sounds phenomenal. And apparently this was originally meant to be a Star Wars movie. And I was like, I just started thinking about all the possibilities. And apparently what Zack Snyder wanted to do basically is, as he said it, I want to do a Star Wars Seven Samurai movie. I don't want any of the famous characters to be in it, and I want it to be rated R. And I'm like, that sounds awesome. Zack Snyder, rated R movies, rated R Star Wars movie. Are you kidding me? I'm in. I'm 100% in. That could be epic. So imagine kind of like, let's say a Obi-Wan-esque character, you know, a Jedi in exile, getting hired to defend a town in a deadbeat planet that's about to be invaded by I don't know who do you like? Maybe even the Empire, but I don't think the Empire, but somebody else, like the Hutts or something. That would be super cool. And so I'm looking forward to this movie. It sounds fun. Like, I think it would have actually fit really well within the Star Wars world, you know, because the Star Wars universe has such great lore and all. It's a really awesome world. And the worst part about the Star Wars world is the movies. Everything else is great. The video game stuff is great. The books are great. The movies are the worst part. And I'm not saying that all the movies are terrible. I'm saying that's how good the rest of the world is, or that universe is. So it's one of those things like, man, I wish they would have done this. Like, Disney, why don't you have like half a fucking brain? You could have had a rated R Zack Snyder Star Wars movie, and you didn't take it. You know how much money that is? Like, that's easy money. That's the easiest money ever. And he doesn't even want to use the iconic character. So maybe you could have gotten away with one or two tricks that would have made the movie cheaper. It's so stupid. Like, imagine there's like a masked guy that at one point takes off his mask. It turns out that it's a clone trooper that escaped. So you got the cameo from that character, from that actor again. God, it would have been great. It would have been a lot of fun. Fortunately, they didn't do it. And now, well, Zack Snyder did it anyway, except he took all the Star Wars stuff out of it. So it should be cool. I'm going to watch it again. I'm a Zack Snyder fan. I'll check it out. If you guys want to check it out too, cool. Let me know what you think. Next, let me see. Okay, so here we got, speaking of kind of missed opportunities. So over the weekend, a movie became very successful. And the movie is the new Jim Caviezel movie called Sound of Freedom. And it's basically based on the real-life story of a former Homeland Security agent who decided to take his own money and go stop child trafficking around the world. And it's, again, based on a real guy. And the movie's been incredibly... It stars Jim Caviezel, and it's been incredibly successful because it turns out people do not like people trafficking children, and people want to give this guy their money. Because it's like, hey, don't... Let's support people who are against child trafficking. That seems like a good thing to do. And I just found out, again, this movie beat out Indiana Jones, at least on July 4th, because it came out on July 4th. It turns out that Disney had the rights for this movie to distribute it for like 5 years, and they didn't. So for 5 years, they had this movie that could have helped, made them look good as a company because they released the movie against child predators and child traffickers, and it could have actually made them money because Jim Caviezel is still a pretty big star. People love him, and the message of the movie overall is pretty good. And for what I've heard from people who've seen it is that the movie's actually pretty well made, and they didn't. So they keep fucking up. One way, and they fucked up in the worst way possible, because now it's like, hey, it looks like you're covering for pedophiles. So again, I just did a show last week trashing Disney and how terrible they're doing, and you just keep, 1 week later, we keep finding out more and more stuff about how terrible they're fucking doing and how it's going and all the bad decisions that they're doing. It's honestly, it's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive how low a company can go. And kind of in the same vein, speaking of Jim Caviezel, we have a little bit of talks about The Passion of the Christ 2. So Mel Gibson has confirmed that he will be doing a sequel to The Passion of the Christ. Now, for those of you who don't remember, this movie came out when I was in high school, so over a decade ago. Mel Gibson made a movie about The Passion of the Christ, which is basically the last days of Christ, and it's basically like a gore movie with Jesus Christ where he gets tortured and stuff, and it's really nasty to watch and all that stuff. It's brutal to watch, and it stars Jim Caviezel. The movie was hugely successful financially, and now, over a decade later, apparently there's going to be a sequel. Why? I don't particularly know why, because I'm pretty sure that The Passion of the Christ ends at the end of that particular story, but we'll see. And apparently, actor Jim Caviezel, he talked about the movie a little bit, the potential for it and all this stuff, and he says that it's probably going to be a two-parter. So there's going to be 2 sequels to The Passion of the Christ, and he describes it, and director Mel Gibson describes it like like an acid trip. Okay? Listen, I love Mel Gibson as a director. I think he's one of the best filmmakers out there. I am adamant that the best description of Mel Gibson was given by the creators of South Park in the Imagination episodes, where they describe him as, he might be insane, but the man knows plot development. So, I'll watch it. I'm a Mel Gibson fan. He makes really good movies. I just don't know what the fuck this is gonna be about. Listen, you have my curiosity, all right? You have my curiosity. I didn't particularly love The Passion of the Christ because, again, it was just a gore movie with Jesus, and that doesn't really float my boat. I'm not a gore guy. But an acid trip post-resurrection Jesus movie, 2 of them, you have my curiosity, all right? Now let's see if you get my attention. But for now, you have my curiosity, and we'll see how that goes. Fucking right of the Chuck Dominguez is because Disney are pro pedos. I watch Passion every Easter with my kids, but skip the brutal whipping. Yeah, oof. Listen, here's the thing about the pedo Disney stuff. There have been a bunch of people who worked at Disney, like Orlando and all that stuff, who have been arrested for stuff of pedophilia. That has happened. And this is the way I look at it. And this is kind of the reason why I do not like teachers in general and don't trust teachers in general, or people who worked with kids in general. And it's lions hunt where the gazelle is. Predators hunt where the prey is. So pedophiles, their prey is children. So they will be, let's say, drawn to careers or any type of thing that makes them be around children. That's why I tend to not trust these people, or the people who work in kids industry in general. Now, some of them are great, some of them are phenomenal, some of them generally do it because they understand kids, they love kids. I get it. Listen, I love kids. Kids are phenomenal. They're great. I tend to stay as far away as possible from them because parents are really like, meh. And also because things are really tense and it's weird, I'd rather not get in trouble for anything because we're living in a really bizarre time, and I already get enough trouble by myself as it is. I don't need anything else, and it sucks because kids are awesome. They don't give a fuck about anything. They actually care what my favorite dinosaur is. They like playing with toys. They have the coolest toys, so they're great. They're awesome. I stay as fuck away as possible from them as I can, because again, too much responsibility, and I don't need all that drama. And again, maybe I'm too jaded, but predators hunt where the prey is. So it makes sense that a company that's supposed to make product for kids attracts people who want to abuse kids. It makes sense. The incentives are aligned. That's why I don't trust these people. That's why I don't trust teachers who like working with kids in general. Now, again, once you go into the individual, that's fine. You can tell. But in general, I do not trust these people. Predators go where their prey is. Keep that in mind. Just remember that. There you go. Next. Quentin Tarantino has some bad news for us. Now, for a really long time, people have been wondering, will there be a sequel to Kill Bill Volume 2? Now, Kill Bill is, I was about to say maybe his most popular, like, normie franchise. I mean, it's 2 movies. I mean, it has a sequel. Is it the most popular? I mean, Pulp Fiction is probably the most iconic. I think it might be the most popular. Like, off the top of my head, it might be the most popular. I'm just talking out of my ass, though. And so, for a really long time, people have been expecting Volume 3, and Quentin Tarantino has finally spoken up about it. And again, it's not a particularly good news for everybody. So, speaking with Flemish newspaper De Morgan, with the Flemish newspaper De Morgan, Tarantino effectively shut down the idea of a Kill Bill Volume 3 starring original lead Uma Thurman alongside her daughter, Maya Hawke. This is what he had to say. I don't see that. Man, my last film's about a male critic, and he plays it in the 70s. And that's it. So, Tarantino has, for a very long time, said that he only wants to make a certain number of movies, and I thought that he already reached that number, but maybe he's counting Kill Bill as one. I don't know. But the point is, he's saying it. My last film's about a male critic, and he plays it in the 70s. So, there you go. For all of you who are hoping that maybe there's going to be a Kill Bill Volume 3 with Uma Thurman and her daughter or whatever, not going to happen. At least it won't be made by Quentin Tarantino, and I don't see him giving up the reins for that one for anybody else, because they could very much tarnish his legacy. And has Uma Thurman really done anything in the last decade? I don't know. Chuck Dominguez, that's not Inglourious Basterds. Inglourious Basterds probably more popular. He counts Kill Bill as one. Listen, I think Inglourious Basterds is his best movie. I think... Yeah, that's his best movie overall. I think it has the best pacing, the best acting. It's ridiculous enough. It's serious enough. It kind of is the least wild in terms of stories, at wild enough at the same time. I like it. I think it's his best. In fact, at the end of the movie, when he's like, you know what? This might be my masterpiece. I completely agree. But is Inglourious Basterds more popular than Kill Bill? Like, Kill Bill, you need to go back to when the movie came out. It was a cultural phenomenon. It was a really big deal. Everybody was waiting for the sequel, and the whole thing about assassins fighting each other. Maybe Inglourious Basterds, I don't know. I need to see the numbers. But whatever. Kill Bill counts as 10 total films to end his directorial career. He's at 9. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is good too. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is okay, but again, listen, it's okay. It's a fun watch. But there's kind of not really a point to it. Like, there's a point where the movie just happens in a montage when they go to Italy, and so we see a bunch of interesting scenes that at the end, by mere coincidence, ends up having to do with the Manson murders. Let's just say it lacked a certain cohesion for my liking, you know. But the ending is super brutal and epic, and I loved it. It was super gory and all that stuff, so it's fun watch. But I wouldn't say it's his best. Anyway, next. Oh, this is a fun one. Apparently, there was another ending for John Wick 2. So the Chad Stahelski, the director of the movie, confirmed that there was actually a different ending to John Wick 4. So John Wick Chapter 4 came out a few months ago. For those of you who haven't seen it, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. But the director has confirmed that apparently they tested out a different ending, and the reason why they went with this one, or the one that is actually in the movie, is because it tested better with audiences. So here you go. This is what he had to say. We had a different ending. We shot an ending where you actually saw John Wick at the end of the movie, so it was very clear that he was still alive. The audiences we tested with absolutely preferred the ambiguous ending. So, for those of you who remember the movie and remember the ending and all that stuff, it does feel kind of weird at the end. Apparently, it's because there was another ending that they shot, and so that they decided to keep it ambiguous, to keep it kind of a mystery, the fate of Mr. John Wick. And I agree, it's better to not get full closure because the door's there. And you can decide if Keanu wants to walk through it again, he can do it. If the director wants to go back to it, he can. I think it was a good decision overall. But if you were of the idea that maybe, you know, it feels like he's alive or something, yeah, it's more. At least, you know, they did shoot something where he did end up alive. So there you go. You weren't crazy. That's probably the more apt way of looking at it. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is good too. The one that is underrated is Reservoir Dogs. 100% Reservoir Dogs for DMC, Dario's Movie Club. For sure. I love Reservoir Dogs. I mean, listen, every single film student have seen Reservoir Dogs, and we've had to study it because it's and in many, many ways, because it's first off, you know, it's a great movie. You get to see an auteur at work. It's also a great way of handling budget and and telling a story where you don't have to go, like, you don't need to do crazy budgets in order to do a great movie. It could be self-contained. It's a great movie overall. Tarantino did a phenomenal job there. Sure, for the underrated gems at one point. Why not? What doesn't make sense? It didn't make sense. He did all that so he could die. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it felt unfinished. That okay, you're talking about John Wick. It does feel like, dude, your point of still being alive at this particular juncture is kind of vengeance, right? You need to destroy the table. Oh, completely. So you just being like, I'm done, doesn't make sense. I agree. There should be more. There should be more. And because of Reservoir Dogs, I don't tip. The Steve Buscemi thing, it's a solid argument. It's a great argument as to why should I have to give him money? It's the only job where a single mother could feed their family. Could afford. It's a great point. It's a great argument. And finally, this is a story that probably nobody cares about. Nobody. I didn't care about it, but I read the headline and I was like, you know what? Let's look into it a little bit. It's not particularly fun. It's not particularly interesting, but here you go. Director Javier Dolan retires from making movies. Quote, art is useless. Now, for those of you who are wondering who the hell Javier Dolan is and why should I care that he retires from making movies, you don't. You don't really need to care. You don't particularly need to know who he is. I read that and I was like, what's up with this guy? He looks young. Art is useless. What the hell's happening? I was curious. I was curious as to what could drive a young person who apparently is important enough to get an article once he announces his retirement from filmmaking and see what is up. What's going on here? So for those of you who don't know, he's a French dude, a French director, and he's made critically acclaimed movies like Mommy, I Killed My Mother, and Lawrence anyways, and a bunch of other ones like let me see, I got it here. Matthias and Maxime. It's Only the End of the World, and The Death and Life of John F. Donovan. That's the only one that's in English. So it's funny because I was reading the article and a lot of stuff resonated, and so I'll tell you the thing. So here's what he says of why he's quitting the industry. And again, the industry is at a very bad spot. I think that's the reason why it caught my attention. The film industry is in a very, very nasty spot. It's in a bad crux. I think it will power through because creative people will still find a ways of doing creative stuff, even if they have to go outside the system. Perfect example, Sound of Freedom that I talked a few minutes ago. They found a way. Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder found a way. Disney doesn't want to give me Star Wars. I'll do my own sci-fi movie, and it'll be rated R with hookers and blackjack. You got Jim Caviezel. Disney did not want to distribute their movie. They kept it, probably in the vault for 5 years. It comes out, makes a lot of money. It'll work. Audiences flock towards good material. And so I was like, all right, maybe this is a critique of that, right? Let's see how this goes. And yeah, you probably never heard of their movies, and I'll explain why. I'll tell you the premise of them. Okay, so this is director Javier Dolan speaking. I don't really want this job anymore. I'm tired. We're in 2022, and the world has changed drastically. Me, in that world, I no longer necessarily feel the need to tell stories and relate to myself. I want to take time to be with my friends and family. I want to shoot commercials and build myself a house in the country one day when I have enough money saved. I don't say that in a sad way at all. I just want to live something else. Other experiences. I probably said that with a terrible accent, so I'll read it normally. I don't want this job. I don't want to do this job anymore. I'm tired. We're in 2022 and the world has changed drastically. Me, in that world, I no longer necessarily feel the need to tell stories and to relate to myself. I want to take time to be with my friends and family. I want to shoot commercials and build myself a house in the country one day when I have enough money saved. I don't say it in a sad way at all. I just want to live something else, other experiences. I don't feel like committing 2 years to a project that barely anyone sees. I put too much passion into it to have these disappointments. It makes me wonder if my filmmaking is bad, and I know it's not. I don't understand what is the point of telling stories when everything around us is falling apart. Art is useless, and dedicating oneself to the cinema, a waste of time. That is brutal. And I was reading that, and I felt bad for the guy. You sound like Frenchie from The Boys. Yeah, that's kind of who I was doing. Yeah, I'm officially retiring from multi-million-dollar investing. Go on, Gus. But no, I was hearing that, and I was like, man, this guy sounds depressed. Like, he just sounds depressed, and maybe that's probably the thing. The whole, art is pointless, and it's a waste of time to dedicate yourself to cinema. Cinema is a great thing. The industry sucks. I mentioned it a million times before. The industry sucks, but the art form is great. There's a reason why I never really wanted to go to LA or Hollywood. It's because I hate the people in the industry. They suck. Particularly in Hollywood. There's other people out there who are great. The people who just kind of want to do art, they're phenomenal. But the people in the industry suck. And it's funny. It's really funny reading this. Because there's a part of it where you feel bad for the guy, and there's a part of it when you're like, fuck you. And the part where I'm like, fuck you, is I put too much passion into it to have these disappointments. It makes me wonder if my filmmaking is bad, and I know it's not. I know it's not. Now, that's something that I don't particularly understand, because I've hated absolutely every single thing I've ever made my entire life. There's no project I've ever worked on that has my name on it that I'm like, that was perfect, that's phenomenal, I'm the best. I always hate it because I'm always seeing it on the other side. I'm always seeing it after I've learned something because I went through the process. So you go through the process of doing something, you learn things on the other side, and you know things. So when you look back, you're like, I should have done this differently. Like even a video like a music video I edited for my kid brother and my cousin. I'm looking at it and I'm like, I hate this. I hate this because I should have done this differently. I should have done this differently. So I'm hypercritical about the stuff, but I look at it in a positive way because it means that I've learned something in the process. I became better on the other side. This guy saying like, I know my films are phenomenal. They're the best. It's the audience who is wrong. It's the audience who does not appreciate me. They do not appreciate my genius. And so like, all right, guy, let's see what your movies are about. I felt bad for you because it sounded like you're on the verge of being kind of like suicidal, but let's just see if your movies are actually that good. And so I got 4 of them here, and I'll read you the premise for every single one. So this is Mommy. A widowed single mother raising her violent son alone finds new hope when a mysterious neighbor inserts herself into her household. That could be an interesting flick. It could. Not particularly my cup of tea. You know, all the domestic violence stuff, not particularly my cup of tea, but okay. Fine, whatever. Next, Matthias and Maxime. Hidden feelings come to light and threaten the bond of a group of friends in their late 20s. This is about 2 friends, male friends, who may or may not, who appear to be attracted to each other. Oh, by the way, the problem with Mommy is that I think it's shot in a square. So, you know, usually there's full screen, but no, it's shot in a square. So it looks really weird. Matthias and Maxime. All right. Story about 2 gay dudes and their friends. Oh, 2 closeted gay dudes and their friends. Not my cup of tea. Not interested. It's only the end of the world. Luis, a terminally ill writer, returns home after a long absence to tell his family that he is dying. Could be an interesting concept. You watch the trailer, they actually have some pretty big names in there. Marion Cotillard's in it, Vincent Cassel's in it, Léa Seydoux in it. But you watch the trailer and you're like, this is... I mean, it just... They say it's only family dinner, it's not the end of the world. Like, is this something that I want to watch? I want to spend almost 2 hours watching a basically an uncomfortable family dinner? Nah. And finally, the last one, The Death and Life of John F. Donovan. This one, the cast for this movie's phenomenal. Like, I can't believe I've never heard of this movie. You got Kit Harington, Natalie Portman, Susan Sarandon, Kathy Bates, Thady Newton, and who else did I see here in the trailer? Kathy Newton. And here is the summary of the movie. A decade after the death of an American television star, a young actor reminisces about the written correspondence he shared with him, as well as the impact those letters had on both their lives. So it's about being a pen pal with an actor, right? With Kit Harington, who has the personality of a wet blanket. You wonder why these aren't popular? It's because you're picking topics that are so incredibly personal that they're boring. They're boring as hell. Nobody cares about watching. They might be the best made movies out there, but the story's not interesting. Or maybe your angle for it wasn't particularly interesting. So it's just one of those things that, like, let me see. Saying that he makes good movie, he has a bit of an ego. My reaction to his films, Listen, I know this. All right, I know this guy, but no, I don't know this guy. I know his type. All right, I went to film school. I know this guy. I know this type of guy. The guy who's like, no, I have this vision and all this stuff, and I want to make it all artsy. And by the way, most of these people, basically what they mean is that we want to do like a massive close-up. Which, by the way, look at the trailers to most of his movies. They're just close-ups. We're going to go really close. So what you're getting basically is, if you have a really good performance, it looks pretty good because, you know, you're getting really up close and personal to the actor. But art department people will probably hate you because they're like, I spent all this time designing a fucking set just for on the screen for just to be like the face of a guy. Are you or a girl? Are you kidding me? But anyway, auteurs or the artistic people, or whenever they say movies like, ooh, really artsy and stuff, usually they do a lot of close-ups, and it annoys the hell out of me. They think it makes them deep or whatever. It's like, oh, we got really close in there. It's uncomfortable. No, we just couldn't see anything, and maybe you got a really great performance, and sure, that's valid, but if you get a really great performance with a really bad story, it doesn't really mean anything. Anyway, I knew this guy, this type, all throughout film school. They're like, oh, this is great, and all this vision, and they feel like they're the best, and what they're gonna show the world is like, oh, it's phenomenal. I'm gonna change the game. I'm gonna change cinema. I'm gonna change the world, and I know all these interesting things, and I'm a super cultured and interesting guy, and I've seen all ththese movies, and I snub my nose at you, and then all of a sudden, you know, you hit the real world, and you had the confidence, and you had, you know, the know-it-all and know-with-all, all that stuff to get people to give you money and trust you and make these movies, and the movies suck, and you don't make any money because of it, but still you have to defend it because you're like, I don't suck, I'm the best, and if I'm the best, I can't say the movie sucks, even though the audience hated it. But if you're making a movie, you're making it for the audience, all right? You're making, well, no. You could make movies just for yourself. You could. I wouldn't call that, you know, smart business, but now, congratulations. You're a commercial guy. You're making commercials. You went from making movies to making commercials, and from maybe being depressed to, I don't know, what the hell, like a bad ego trip. I don't know what the hell is happening. And like I said, I just found it funny. I found it interesting. This story has nothing to do with anything, whatever. I just saw that particular interview, and I was like, dude, what the hell's wrong with this guy? Why announce it to the world? Like, why? Why is it this weird need to be like, I declare bankruptcy. Like, you know, I'm retiring from film. I get Quentin Tarantino because he said, I'm gonna make 10 movies and done. And so every time he checks that box, people are gonna ask him about it. But this guy, the ego, right? It's weird because I felt bad for him, but then it's like, you know, you fail. You deserve to fail. But still, he made his movies. He made his movies, so he's got one on me. So I don't know. Like I said, I didn't even know if it was a funny thing. I just found it interesting, and I wanted to share it. This guy 100% posted his COVID vax card online. Maybe, I don't know. He's French. I don't know how they roll over there with all that stuff. It's just, dude, I told you the premise of the movies. Most of them are like, well, even the death and life of John F. Donovan has to do with gay stuff. Most of them have to do with gay stuff. And it's like, all right, so you're making a movie for under 1% of the population, and you're shocked that the majority of the population don't want to watch your movie. Now, if I'm him, and I make a movie for me, or for the particular, or the 1% of the population that I made this movie for, I'm like, fuck it. They watched the movie, they liked it, I don't care about anybody. I didn't make the movie for you. But here, he's complaining that nobody watches his movie. Well, they didn't watch your movie because you didn't make a movie that the massive audiences would understand, or be attracted to, or interested in. I saw the trailers for most of these, and I was like, ugh, not for me. I either don't care, or they just sound stupid and boring, or the trailer just didn't look that good. Because again, I've met these people. I've seen their work. It's always the same, and they always think they're so special. And I'm not saying that I'm any better. I've never said I'm a good director. I've never wanted to be a director. But I've never had that ego either. Listen, if you have the balls to say that I know my movies are good, then, you know, people should have just objectively... No, you know, it's different. Art is subjective. Maybe to him it's good. And you know what? If he thinks it's good for himself, good, you know. Good on you. You can retire with your good movies, and now you can make really good commercials. And if you're happy that way, good. If it's better, if you're being depressed because the industry was eating you alive, all right, get out of there. You know, I don't wish, you know, any bad things to happen to this dude. He might be a really nice guy. It's just, you know, reality hit him like with a 2x4 in the face, and apparently he was popular enough that it was worthy of an article saying that, you know, cinema is a waste of time. I don't know. It's weird. Like I said, that was never meant to go anywhere. I just found it interesting. All the comments that he made. and I wanted to share them. So there you go. As always, comments, questions, suggestions. I thought this was a good place to stop. Oh, damn, I forgot to take that away. Yeah. As always, comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Dario SDW and at Super Dario World. Tomorrow, everything should be good for Taco Tuesday. Eric, we already talked to him. He's supposed to be free, barring, any unforeseen circumstances. We will be talking about Jujutsu Kaisen, the movie, and the newest season came out, so we'll be talking. So every week we'll probably talking about an update on the latest episode or something. I saw the newest trailer for One Piece. I want to talk about that. I saw the trailer for Suicide Squad Isekai. I want to talk about that. So again, it's just gonna be chilling and talking about those particular topics. Again, Thursday, underrated gems. It's my movie club. We're gonna be talking the 13th Warrior, Thursday at 5 p.m. So there you go. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. I really appreciate it. As always, thanks for listening, and I'll see you again next time.